Hi there, I'm Susan Martin. Welcome to my channel. And if you're here, you might be pregnant, expecting a little one, or thinking about being pregnant. And I work with families during their childbearing years. And I just love everything that has to do with pregnancy, labor and birth, breastfeeding, and babies. And welcome. Today, I want to talk about what is a Bradley birth. Sometimes when I'm doing a little internet research, some of the comments I see about the Bradley method, lots are positive. Sometimes people have weird ideas about what is a Bradley birth. And so I really want to talk about what that is. We are really known for helping families have an unmedicated birth or natural birth, sometimes people call that. And sometimes they think that's the goal of the whole birthing series, and that is not the goal of classes. It could be a very wonderful outcome, and it's really exciting, and I hope that you get to see some of the birth stories either on my website or interviews that I have coming up, because it is inspiring. It is amazing to have that experience. However, that's what taking a Bradley class is not about. I do want to give you the skills. So let's just start with the fact that the goal of taking classes is not a natural birth. It is a healthy mother and baby. And there's a lot of things that go into that. A lot of different choices can be made, a lot of things surrounding, and to not just focus on the exact events that take place during the birth. However, because birth is a really emotional experience, it is important. People have feelings about that, right? So when I talk about natural birth, I really talk about all of the natural processes that are involved in pregnancy, labor and birth, that immediate postpartum. There's so many, right? There are all these series of interlinking processes, and they're all connected. And I want you to know what those are. So that you can gather, I like thinking about in terms of like gathering as much as you can from your birth. So it's not about having a perfect birth. I'm not really sure what that is. I think you can have a really great birth experience. And I want that for you. And you deserve that. And there's some things that can be helpful for that. So having a Bradley birth, whatever the events are of one's birth, is number one, is that this couple or birth team has taken a Bradley method series. A Bradley method series is 12 weeks. That's how it's designed. I know there's some teachers that teach shorter courses, and sometimes, you know, that's a business decision people may make, but ultimately it's designed to be 12 weeks. And right now I am lucky enough to be able to teach the 12 weeks. I'm committed to that, because that's how our brains work. Your brain needs those 12 weeks, especially in our society, which really makes birth seem scary and doesn't have a lot of supportive systems in place, especially for having a hospital birth, that you need that time to rewire your brain and train your body to be ready for this whole experience. That's a physical, you know, mental and emotional and spiritual, which we don't really talk about in class, but me personally, it's also a spiritual experience. So I think it's really, really important. You need that time. Start at you know, step one, then build up a little over those 12 weeks. So just by taking those 12 weeks of class, you automatically are like entered into, you had a Bradley birth, right? Because you prepared for your baby. So it's all about taking the time out as parents or your birth team to prepare for this beautiful child coming into the world, right? So that's number one, taking the time out to be prepared on all levels for your new baby that's coming into the world. We also spend time talking about taking actions in class about how to stay healthy and low risk. So the first 4 classes really focus on that. And so no matter what happens in the actual birth, that doesn't discount what happened, all the things that you did, which is eating well and practicing your exercises and walking and a bunch of other things that we do in that healthy and low risk, learning to take responsibility for your birthplace and provider. So all of this stuff is really, really important. And by doing those things, that automatically puts you into whatever happens, into having a Bradley birth, right? And one of the things I just mentioned is taking responsibility for your birth provider, who they are and where you give birth. And there's more or less, we talked about this last week in my other class, about sometimes there are financial limitations or insurance limitations, but sometimes we have more flexibility than we think, right? So within whatever context we have, is being like, oh, I have choices here, I may not have choices here, and making the choices that you can and navigating that system or the opportunities that you do have. You did that, right? So you're taking responsibility for that, and that gives you confidence, and that qualifies you as a Bradley birth, right? Next thing is really making sure that your partner is supported, knows how to support you. So I think it's really important that there aren't in our society a lot of guidelines for primarily fathers, right? But even if we're a same-sex couple, or if we have other family members who are supporting us, if we're a single parent, that all of these people we need around us to know how to support us. A lot of things are fractured in our society. So making sure that they're not going to just automatically, it's going to come to them. So you got to train them, right? So they don't know what they can do in pregnancy, labor and birth, immediate postpartum, right? That they know how to do those things, and it's clear to them, so they're not walking around lost. They do the best that they can. Once they have an idea, they'll do the best they can to their ability. So that's a big part of the Bradley method. Understanding, I said already, the nature's blueprint about that, about labor and birth. So it's not about the exact outcome, but always keeping nature's blueprint in mind, because it's kind of what your baby's expecting. And sometimes we need to make other choices, and that's totally fine. But just understanding where that, even if we need to make a different choice due to health reasons or a risk factor, any of those things, that we know where to get back on, and so you're able to make those choices and advocate. So part of advocating for yourself, which is the next one, knowing that you have the right and the responsibility to ask questions, to be you're worthy of respect, and that your care providers and the people in the hospital or whatever birth location that you're giving birth in, that they should be listening to you, that you understand the lingo, that you can talk with them, that you can negotiate. And that's best done when you're prepared, right? Because if you have no clue what's going on, you're just like, I'm just going to trust my doctor. This is not like, your doctor or your midwife is someone who has special knowledge. That's true. They have special skill sets. But ultimately, what's inside of you, you also have skill sets and information, right? And the things that you're feeling, thinking, believe are really, really, really important to take into consideration. Things that other people don't know. So it should be a collaborative effort in all of this, and that ultimately we do really support that parents make the decisions, because you're becoming a parent and you're going to be in charge of this beautiful being, raising them for the next 18, 20 years, right? So that's a big long-term investment. I really talk a lot about how you're left holding the bag. You're responsible. You take this child home. You're raising this child. The other people in the room are not going to, you're not going to be consulting with them necessarily about other things in the future that have to do with your child. So you're the parent, and you get to make choices that are right for you. And your healthcare provider is there to support you, right? To guide you, right? But ultimately it's your responsibility as a parent. And the other thing with Bradley birth is, really being prepared. So I'm going to let you know what nature's blueprint is. I'm going to give you skill sets. You're going to practice skill sets to be able to handle the labor in an unmedicated way, and to navigate through that. And also understanding some of the variations of a normal labor. What's the best way, what can you do when a complication comes up, going through how to advocate for yourself, how to make sure you're getting informed consent, and what to think about and do should a cesarean become necessary, right? And what to advocate for there is also important, because that's going to happen in some births, right? Some babies need to be born by cesarean, or there might be a health complication in the mother. And this is not bad. That doesn't make it not a Bradley birth, even if someone needs to be induced or any of those things. Like, it's what is the decision-making process? And do you feel part of that decision-making process, right? Are you being treated with respect? Does your partner know how to support you within the context of those situations? Really, really important, right? That's what makes it a Bradley birth, not the exact outcome, right? Also really listening to your own intuition, tuning into your body, your own instincts is so important. I really believe that as a mother, there is, something I believe that we're connected to that can give us guidance and knowledge that is outside of medical knowledge. That is important. And always as a mother, I have found that has been central. And that doesn't mean that we aren't researching and doing this, looking at evidence. That can be important too. But what's internal is, I feel like, a real driving force in coming into yourself, and learning to be a new parent and primarily a mother, right? That you come into that intuition and knowledge, and that's being reinforced inside of you, right? And being there for each other, classes, one of the things we focus on is communication, being there for each other, being good partners to each other. That's a key essential part of having a good birth. And one of the things that I really love hearing couples say that they got closer, made them think about things, and that alone, that working together, that being there for each other, co-parenting together, that makes your birth a Bradley birth. So here's the thing I want you to know. Yes, you can absolutely have a natural childbirth. It is possible. Most births are undermined by systemic issues, both in hospitals and our society, right? So I want you to know what's possible and to know just the beauty of the birth process and thinking about your beautiful child and who they are as a person coming into this world and their point of view and their experience. So it is possible. It's also possible that you have challenges or something that comes up, and like, how do you navigate that? And so that's also a Bradley birth, navigating challenges and making changes to what we think is our birth plan and doing that together as a team with your partner, right? And also always keeping in mind the health and well-being of the mother and the baby, the cohesiveness of the family, right? And even when we need a cesarean, yes, that is still a Bradley birth, because it's not 100% for unmedicated deliveries, right? So sometimes moms and babies need help, and we're so really fortunate to have that technology to be able to do that, right? Nature is wise and wonderful, right? But she also takes no prisoners, right? And that may not be a good outcome for some mamas and babies, to not just leave it completely up to nature in those scenarios, right? It may be that's something we wouldn't accept, right? If we do nothing, one of the things we talk about, right? We said, what if we do nothing? Sometimes it's okay and sometimes it's not. All of those births, right? So completely unmedicated natural birth, right, can be a Bradley birth. An induction without any pain medication can be a Bradley birth. Needing pain medication in some cases, that's also, right, a Bradley birth if that's necessary for your birth. And then sometimes a cesarean, that's also a Bradley birth. All those things, right? So the most important thing is your relationship, doing what you can do for the health and well-being of the mother and baby, keeping the partner, co-parent, husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, mother, cousin, anyone who's there to support you, best friend, integral, whoever is a part of that baby's life, really being connected and getting deeper as a family. So all of those are potential Bradley births, right? So however your birth goes, right? The most important thing is that, did you feel prepared? Did you feel prepared for your baby? Did you prepare for your baby, right? It's not about everything being perfect. It's about showing up, committing, being there, and doing what's necessary. And being together as a family, right? That makes your birth a Bradley birth. And I hope that it's a very, very good one for you. Yeah. So you can find out more information about me or connect with me either on social media. You'll find links to that on my website, which is naturalbeginningsla.com. So www.naturalbeginningsla.com is my website. And I wish you the very best. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.